Okay, boxing fans, this one is coming out of nowhere. I don't know if it's not confirmed yet, but we're just going to talk about it to see if anyone wants to see it. Marco Huck versus Johnny Nelson. Johnny Nelson said he is willing to come back to fight Marco Huck, beat him for his world title, and further extend Nelson's, I assume, record as he didn't really lose it, his title, and end Marco Huck's reign as WBO champion. He said he needs 6 months to prepare for this fight, and he's only willing to come back to fight Marco Huck. The questions to the guys are things like, do they expect this to happen? Is Johnny Nelson talking shit? And what does everyone really think about this? But quickly, my opinion, Johnny Nelson's been retired for like 10 years. He was a fighter who moved, and moved some more, and he threw a few punches, but he didn't have the accuracy really. And it actually got better when the opponent was shattered from chasing the guy around, and he can't really do that anymore because, he's old. He's had a hip replacement, and he's recently blew his knee out on ringside training with Tony Bellew. So, I don't think he could go for a training camp without falling apart, really. So, for me, it's a non-issue. I don't think he could do it. I don't expect it to happen, but we'll talk to a few of the guys. First, I'll bring in Rory from Pick from the Paddock. What do you think about this potential fight, Rory? Do you think it'll happen? Do you think it won't happen?
According to Johnny Nelson, it's a 40% chance it will, 60% chance it won't. I hope he's right in the sense that 60% of it, so it's more likely it won't happen. He says he'll only do it as a one-off, only do it to fight Huck to make sure he doesn't beat his record. I think fighters of any age have a fighter's mentality whereby even if you're in your 70s, you'll look at the fighters that are active and go, in my day I could have beat this guy, in my day I could have beat that guy. And I think it's just bravado. Someone needs to sit down with Johnny Nelson and say, just sit in your armchair and do what you're doing and commentate, and that's it, So have a serious word of yourself if you're actually contemplating this. I hope it doesn't happen, but at the same time, if it does, I'd still watch it, I wouldn't be turned off by the fight, but I can't see, any sane reason why he should be stepping through the ropes again.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I can't see why he would want to take this fight. Paul, what are your thoughts on this
fight? I don't think it will happen, thank God, because it would just be farcical. And why do I think Johnny Nelson's coming out with all this rubbish? I think it's, to be honest, he doesn't want to lose his record to Marco Huck, because maybe that record he's got, what was it, something like 10 title defences over that? I can't think. But
13.
13.
Yeah, and Huck's just
equals it, hasn't he?
Equals it, yeah.
Right. Well, that record is the only thing that's the only leg Johnny Nelson's got to stand on when it comes to talking about his career, because he's not remembered fondly by British fans. It really is he. He's not remembered as this really entertaining fighter who everyone loved because he had a horrible style. He didn't fight in Britain very often, and even though he was world champion for a long time, he was a fighter who British fans just didn't really pay much attention to. And that now that he's retired, that record or whatever it is must be the only thing that, do you know what I mean, that he's able to grasp and keep hold of. And if Marco Huck breaks that record, he'll probably think to himself, well, he is thinking to himself, what else have I got to shout about? Pretty much, my record's gone now. No one really cares about me wins or my record or anything. What legacy have I got? Basically, that's what I mean. He doesn't like the fact that his legacy and the only thing that he's done of note is about to be broken. So maybe it's just he's getting a bit of an arseache over that. He's a bit insecure, and he's thinking, maybe I've still got it. Maybe I can come out and beat Marco Huck. But if he genuinely believes that, then I think he needs to go for a lie down, to be honest. I've met Johnny Nelson once or twice at press conferences when I've been there, and the Sky cameras have been there. Great guy, shook his hand, had a photo with him, really nice fella, and I don't want to see him get back on the ring and embarrass himself, basically, because that's what would happen. If he somehow passed the medical, if he somehow got into fighting shape, and he fought Marco Huck, he'd be absolutely destroyed. Wouldn't go past 2 rounds. And I really hope it doesn't happen. I really hope it's just Johnny Nelson blowing a lot of hot air because he's a bit annoyed his record's about to be broken. And within a few weeks, he'll just pipe down and he'll forget all this silly talk.
Yeah. Well, Paul, what do you think about Johnny Nelson versus Marco Huck, prime for prime?
Prime for prime? I'm a big Marco Huck fan. I've always liked watching Marco Huck fight. Johnny Nelson, I never liked to watch. I've never enjoyed watching one of his fights. I've not watched many of them, and I don't plan on watching any anytime soon because he's got a horrendous style. And to be honest, it was that horrendous style that kept him champion for so long because, as you said, he just moved around and frustrated his opponents, got them tired. And Huck isn't an exciting fighter. I think maybe Huck's style would have fell into Nelson's hands a little bit. It would have been an absolute stinker of a fight, but I think Nelson probably would have taken it because he would have made Huck punch himself out like he did with everyone else. But if they fought now, it's an absolute no contest.
Yeah, I can pretty much agree with that. Yeah, I can agree with that. But you know, the fight being in Germany, I probably wouldn't expect Nelson to get it anyway. And then they'll just say, you know, he would because he was running and shit. And that's what he was doing a lot of the time. He was running. He was literally running. So stuff like a lot of his losses, man. He's got a lot of losses, Nelson. You got to take it as it is. Roddy, what do you think about prime for prime?
I'll be honest. I've little to no experience of Nelson's past fights, but judging by obviously the discussions we've had, I think I agree with Paul. The way that Marco Huck fights coming forward, Nelson probably just pick him off bit by bit, and he just basically danced around the ring until Huck kind of got infuriated and started throwing wildly, and that just played into his hands.
If they fought today, do you know exactly how I would see it? It would be a lot like Darren Barker versus Felix Sturm, except this would be Felix Sturm, who's a lot bigger, you know, a lot stronger, a lot more aggressive, and it would just be a destruction inside a round or two, literally a destruction. But you know, let's hope that this fight doesn't ever happen. I don't want. Go on.
Yeah, but as you said, mate, that's what would happen. Nelson would get embarrassed and destroyed, and I think he's a nice guy. I've met him a few times. He's a lovely bloke. I don't want to see him embarrass himself. Do you know what I mean? I don't want people putting him up to it, tweeting him and stuff like saying, "Oh, you can do it, Johnny. We believe in you. Get yourself in shape." Come on, don't blow smoke up the guy's arse. Do you know what I mean? We all know what's going to happen if he fights Marco Huck. I don't want to see that happen because I don't want to see a British fighter who I thought was quite comfortable in retirement just basically piss away his legacy or whatever legacy he's got.
I think the other thing as well you've kind of got to worry about, because he's got quite a high standing, Johnny Nelson, in terms of British boxing because of his role on Sky. You'd hate for everyone to start backing him and then completely embarrassing himself and then ends up, you know, you hate to say it, even losing a Sky job over it, or, you know, it being detrimental to the rest of his career. And also as well, just the fact he's a 47-year-old guy. You know, it's not a fair contest. I mean, you touched upon it before with Ricky Hatton's comeback, whereby he was fit and primed and ready to go. And you know, when you've had so much time out of the ring, it becomes a point where you just literally don't have it anymore. You know, the likes of Bernard Hopkins and George Foreman's are massive exceptions to the rules. And these are the guys that get dragged out every time someone makes a comeback. And they're few and far between.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, all we got to say is, come on, Sky, pay the man a bit more money. Keep this out of his mind. We don't want to see this. I mean, at the end of the day, if this guy blows his knee out from a one-day training camp with Tony Bellew, I was going to get through an 8-week training camp. He ain't going to do it. But we'll leave it as that. So thank you guys for listening, and tell us what you think about this fight, if it should happen. Or tell me if you think it won't happen. Tell us what you think.